Diddy's attorney, Mark Garagos, kept it all the way real. No PR spin, no soft talk. He flat out said Diddy's already got a target on his back in jail. And this isn't just talk. Word is, someone at MDC actually tried to get at him with a weapon. It didn't land, but the message did. Once someone makes that move, the game changes. Garagos admitted the threat is serious. Big-name inmates don't get hurt by accident. When you're famous, loaded, and everybody knows who you are, the danger level goes crazy. Prison violence is routine, so officials basically have to keep Diddy locked down and heavily watched. Not because he's special, but because it's the only way he survives. Jaguar Wright also chimed in, wondering how someone who used a move like he owned every room would handle life with zero control. No cameras, no audience, no power moves. When those doors slam shut, reality hits hard. She also clowned Diddy's old public image, especially the way he leaned into spiritual talk. Jaguar said just because someone says God doesn't mean they're talking about the same thing. She questioned the symbols, the motives, and the brand he sold, saying the public version never lined up with the private behavior. She also went after documentaries that zoom in on Diddy while quietly cutting other people out. According to her, putting one person on an island doesn't protect them. It leaves them wide open. And in prison, being alone can get dangerous. She added that some media figures who once praised Diddy later brushed off criticism, using clean, polished misinformation.
Diddy had said in the documentary, he had said, I'm doing what God told me to do.
Yeah.
So he was basically saying his actions were ordained by our Father. And that kind of basically over law and man gave him the okay to do technically what he felt was right.
With the shirt, God said no.
Yeah, right. So with the shirt itself, God said no. Do you feel like after, because this, of course, that video was made prior to his, the verdict and things of that nature. Mm-hmm. Do you feel like he himself would be on the same thought process that, God is still telling him to, do as he is, do as he moves? Of course, God is telling everyone to do it, but for him to be able to have that same conviction on that video, do you think he'll be on the same motion as of now?
Well, see, that's the thing. It all depends on who you call God. I know some little weirdo who's on the cover of Forbes for, being a faithful servant to the God that he serves. He calls himself a God. I know plenty of people that say the word God, but just because you say the word God doesn't mean we're all serving the same entity. The question is who's serving the right God?
Hey,
that's the real question. I've been having conversations about this very interesting, back tattoo, which is an abomination in itself. Zole Dantor, I was just talking to everyone about how he pretty much turned it into a demonic symbol, and he's been pimping that whole thing because for those who know the Orishas, that particular Orisha is supposed to be the protector of women and children. Wow. Why would someone like him have that tattoo on his back?
Jaguar said it's not always straight lies. Sometimes it's half-truths. Leaving out key details can completely rewrite how people remember things. When Jimmy Henchman came up, she admitted some of the facts were legit, but said major connections were missing on purpose.
I don't know if anybody's paying attention to the fact that almost every Diddy documentary that's out, he's in it.
He is. He wasn't in this one, though.
Oh, no, he was in this one.
Oh, he was. You're correct. You are correct. He was
in this one. He was sitting there smiling with a shit-eating grin while Diddy is sitting there telling him that he is the gold standard of black excellence and how he's writing the price point for our people. And he's just so happy to be there and listen to this demon run his face when he knows exactly what's going on. And it's really wild because I was listening not long, actually during the trial, he did a whole video calling me a liar and telling people why they shouldn't believe me. And he uses the same style of disinformation. It's like very interesting. Like he's got a style when he's doing his disinformation, when he's trying to get people to unbelieve what they saw with their own eyes.
She explained that business ties, back-channel relationships, and proxy moves matter if you're really telling the story. She stressed again, these are allegations, not convictions. But what keeps the fire burning isn't just what's being said, it's what's being left out. And in cases like this, silence could be just as loud as accusations.
Jimmy Henchman? Jimmy Henchman.
Yeah, he was bringing up Jimmy Henchman and all of this and all of that. And it's so funny because everything that he's saying is true, except for he left out one key part. Jimmy the Henchman did plenty of business with Diddy. Not just Diddy. I can think of a couple other rappers he did some dirty work for as well. And it's just so funny that he decided to start off by saying, oh, see, this was wrong. And they tried to get you to believe this and they tried to get you to believe that, except for that connecting part. And then the simple fact that you have Keefe D saying that he was contracted to handle up. So clearly, we're talking about the kind of situations where someone is using someone by proxy to handle their business for them. Now, of course, all of this is alleged. Keefe D, it's really strange. Keefe D, I'll never forget because I went out to Vegas to cover his trial. I had a press pass. I was going to be in there the whole 9 yards, but they kept pushing everything back and pushing everything back. And then he got attacked just like Tory Lanez did, and everything went all to hell. Isn't it wild that he's been in there since 2023 and we're still waiting for his trial to come up in 2026? Puff didn't get pinched until a year after him and managed to get to trial and get through trial and get sentenced and get to serve his time before Keefe D. Keefe D been sentenced since 2023.
Yeah, he must not have the right to a speedy. They must have skipped that part.
Right to a speedy trial. I remember when I first got out there, and he couldn't get a paid lawyer to represent him. He was dealing with a public defender. I rode in the elevator with a public defender twice. And he had money. Nobody would take his case.
Wow.
The word literally went out into the street to not take his case, to leave him in the hands of the system.
Jaguar said she had a press pass and was ready to cover everything, but the case kept getting pushed back over and over. Then the attack happened, similar to what went down with Tory Lanez, and after that, things unraveled fast. What stood out most to her was the timeline. One guy has been locked up since 2023, but his trial isn't even scheduled until 2026. Meanwhile, Diddy got arrested later, went through trial, got sentenced, and is already doing time.
This documentary, if you didn't hate Diddy, it will make sure that you did. What I hate about it is how sanitized it is. And that's what I've been saying all along. It's sanitized. It's set up to make it seem like Diddy is the only bad guy when it's keeping out a lot of other people that were involved who had their hands involved in all kinds of things. Which also makes it vulnerable for people to go after it. Like I said, it's very clever. It's very, very, very clever.
Now
It's just enough to make you hate the whole situation, but there's just enough misplaced and put in the wrong situation, and this added here, and this for you to be able to still have reasonable doubt on whether or not any of this stuff is real.
Would you call the documentary educational, informational, entertaining? What would you say this documentary?
Gaslighting. And it's sad because there's a lot of stuff in there that's true. But but there's enough left out to create doubt. And that's the same thing that happened with the trial. Actually, with the trial, it was a lot worse, because with the trial, there was just a lot of stuff left out. There was more stuff in this documentary that was in the trial. Half of the stuff in this documentary should have been presented at the trial. Can you imagine if they had had any testimony from Little Rod and the footage that he had from that incident, that firearm incident where the guy G was damn near mortally wounded and was losing his life, and the footage that he had from that? Can you imagine if that had been shown to the jury?
That raised major questions about fairness and the right to a speedy trial. She also remembered how early on he couldn't even hire a private lawyer and had to stick with a public defender. According to her, money wasn't the issue. Nobody wanted the case. She claimed the word quietly went out for attorneys to stay away, leaving him trapped in the system. To her, that wasn't random. That was a warning shot. When the talk shifted back to the documentary, Jaguar said her biggest problem wasn't what they showed, it was what they carefully removed. She felt the whole project framed one person as a villain, while erasing others who played roles. To her, it was slick, cleaned up, and calculated.
He announced that he was going to be doing this documentary before the arrest, which is kind of interesting when you think about it, because the footage that he used, that he featured in this documentary, happened after he announced he was going to be doing the documentary.
Yeah. Yeah.
How lucky was that? What a find.
So,
What a find that was. Like, let's think about that. He announced he was going to be doing the documentary December 2023 with Netflix. And the star footage that you use to get people to re-upload or resubscribe to Netflix to make this the number one in their TV shows division for almost 2 weeks straight, beating out Stranger Things. How much stranger is that?
I'm not backing.
This footage didn't even exist when you said you were going to be doing this documentary. So we've got a videographer, a road videographer that has this very, very, very explosive, very explosive footage of him literally sitting on camera, planning how to go after survivors, how to poison the jury pool, how to fix his trial in advance before he's even arrested. I mean, like, is anybody not forgetting when Mark Agnifilo was sitting there talking to the sons in the hallway, and they're sitting there filming, and he's sitting up there, yeah, well, see, what we got to do is we got to go and we got to put counter suits on all of these people. We have to create lawsuits ourselves.
She said the doc gave just enough info to make people angry, but left out enough context to keep confusion alive. In her eyes, that doesn't reveal truth. It manages it. She even called it gaslighting. She believes a lot of it might be real, but key details were missing, just like during the actual trial. Some evidence shown on screen. She said, never even made it into court, and that could have changed everything.
He did, man. Yeah, he got everybody going, man. He's getting a lot of backlash, man. Like, people are like mad at 50 for getting behind this thing.
Well, see, the thing about it is that people are out there rabbit mind. And they gonna sit up here and they gonna say some stuff like, they try to make it up like, it's because of a girl, it's because of a woman. A man that can have any woman in the damn world, you understand, go any parts of the world, find beautiful women all over the world, that's willing to do whatever he wants to. I'ma be mad because this dude got this one. Nah, it's bigger and it's more than that. They don't want to say it. A lot of these cats out here don't want to tell the truth behind shit. You understand?
She also questioned why so much info magically popped up after sentencing, and why a documentary was announced before arrests or raids ever happened. Somehow, footage that supposedly didn't exist back then became the backbone of the project. To her, that didn't feel lucky, it felt orchestrated.
To take you out of here, try to stop you from eating and everything like that. Diddy was a part of that too. He was a part of that. Because he was telling the executives and people, don't mess with him. Just picture this, bro. He knew he could write. He knew 50 had talent. You understand? Why 50 ain't get a deal in New York City?
Facts, yeah. They had him blackballed. I mean, I think even Irv Gotti talked about it in an interview that he blackballed him.
Right. But hold up, it ain't only Irv Gotti, because Puff had a voice just as much, or probably more than Irv. If Puff would have said, yo, I'm going to sign this kid, who's going to stop him? Why he didn't sign him? He wrote some of his best lyrics. You understand? Let's get it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So the whole thing about it is, man, and now these dudes out here want to portray like I'm supposed to love my enemy. Man, I don't turn the cheek to all that shit like that. No Diddy. I don't turn the cheek. I don't fuck around like that. But the whole thing about it is, if in fact somebody gonna pay me to get at my enemy, and I'm gonna get a piece of that PC.
She pointed out clips where legal strategies were being talked about on camera before charges were even filed. Footage that showed up briefly, then disappeared. That raised one big question. Who had that footage? And who decided when the public got to see it? That led to the bigger mystery. What would make 50 Cent go this hard?
He just really is into sex. He like recording girls, and then him getting with 50 Cent's baby mother was definitely like a power move.
Oh yeah.
And then he records, so he keeps these recordings. So what I was thinking is like, what if he can be on some shit like, if you really want to get at it, like, look at your baby mama fucking on these dudes,
right,
like getting slid out, like, to really piss him off. Like, maybe I feel like sometimes, I feel like he used the recordings for leverage, so low key.
Yeah, because I've been around Diddy before. I've been at parties with him. There's no shortage of women that are approaching him.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So out of all the billions of women in the world, you pick the baby mother of someone who doesn't like you.
Right.
And do you feel that this was like him doing that on purpose to get back at 50?
Definitely. It was definitely like a revenge or beef type thing to get with his baby mother, of all people.
According to Gene Deal, it all goes back to the early days, when 50 was still writing, contributing, and grinding behind the scenes. He was lined up to be the next breakout star from New York, and for a second, everything was clicking. Then suddenly it all stalled. Gene says people don't get why 50 catches heat for pushing this story, but to him it's simple. Some folks try to brush it off as jealousy or a woman, but Gene shuts that down quick. He says a man with money, access, and worldwide reach isn't crashing out over petty drama. This was always bigger than that. Gene believes the real issue is power and control. He says a lot of industry people don't want to admit what really happened behind closed doors. When someone blocks your opportunities, isolates you, and quietly tells others not to work with you, that damage lasts. Gene thinks Diddy played a role in slowing 50's rise, not solo, but as part of a bigger system. Everyone knew 50 could write. Everyone knew he was talented, yet he couldn't land a New York deal. Gene says if Diddy truly wanted him signed, nobody could have stopped it. That silence said everything. And that's why he says you don't just forgive and forget, something like that. When someone tries to stunt your growth, you don't owe them peace. Sly Diggler added that Diddy always needed control. In his eyes, nothing was accidental. Everything felt calculated, strategic, and meant to send signals. One situation stood out: Diddy getting involved with someone close to 50. Sly said that wasn't random. It was symbolic, a dominance move, a leverage play. And that's what people miss when they only read headlines. For some, this was never just business. It was personal. Sly questioned whether certain relationships were about attraction at all, suggesting they were really about sending a message. If someone wants to get under your skin, they go straight for people closest to you. He pointed out Diddy never lacked attention. Women were always around him. So when he got involved with someone tied to 50, it raised eyebrows. To Sly, it felt deliberate. Revenge rooted in old tension, not coincidence. He said their story of casually meeting through friends sounded innocent, but everyone involved knew exactly who they were dealing with. Hollywood circles are small. The history was known. That made it feel mutual, not accidental. He also said it wasn't exclusive. Diddy had multiple relationships going at once. Meetings happened every few months, usually in hotels, across different cities. Even after investigations and headlines, contact allegedly continued. To Sly, that proved it wasn't impulsive. When asked about money, Sly said it wasn't discussed at first, but payment eventually happened. For him, this was never about romance or jealousy. It was about leverage, control without saying a word. He said most meetups happen at hotels, never mansions. He was paid the first time, and after that, the amount changed based on how long things lasted. Some sessions went way longer than expected. Late night into the next day. 10 hours. 12 hours. Sometimes close to 16. He said most people couldn't keep that pace without help. When substances came up, he said sometimes yes, sometimes no, but there was usually something around. Pills, drinks, energy boosters, stuff that didn't feel normal. He said the taste, the smell, something always felt off. He knew LA well enough to tell what was regular and what wasn't. He said the woman involved often warned him not to take certain things, like she was trying to protect him. At the time, he didn't think of it as criminal, just parties, arrangements, and money afterward. But when asked if he felt exploited, he didn't hesitate. Over time, yeah, not because he was forced, but because the emotional connection didn't match the reality. Conversations felt deep, then suddenly empty. Once everything went public, communication stopped instantly. No check-ins, no concern, no friendship. That's when it hit. When asked if he'd ever go back, even for more money years later, he paused. The fallout wasn't worth it. The rumors, the attention. It changed his life. His answer leaned toward walking away. Gene Deal also addressed people calling 50 a snitch. He disagreed completely. He said 50 didn't control the whole documentary. He spoke on what he lived. To Gene, telling your truth isn't snitching, it's accountability. And if more people weren't protecting their own dirt, more stories would come out. Gene closed by saying people don't defend Diddy out of loyalty. They defend him out of reflection. They see themselves in him. But as more stories surface, that shield is cracking. Allegations, perspectives, denials, and a lot of unanswered questions. Truth doesn't come clean or all at once. So now it's on you. Are people defending one man or a pattern of behavior? Drop your thoughts in the comments. You're watching Famonix Rapid. Like, subscribe, and stay locked in. The story doesn't end here, and what comes next goes even deeper.